Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And this is episode 116.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode, friends. I call everybody my friend. I say my friend a lot, and I refer to even perfect strangers as friends. That's just kind of how I like to speak to people and what I think of everyone that is tuning in here. You're our friends. Simple as that. We are gearing up for the New England Veg Fest. And it's been years since we went there, and I am pretty excited about that. I'm looking forward to being first in line for vegan treats, ideally, if it works out. And if not, it'll be okay. We're going to be speaking, tabling, definitely stop by our booth. Maybe we even get a chance to hang out after
This
the
is
show.
a local show. Mm-hmm. This is a local show to us, and it's not going to be the Vegan Strong booth there. It's going to be the Vegan Proteins booth, which I'm really excited about because we haven't tabled at any event in a couple of years, actually. I think the last one was the Boston Veg Fest. You weren't there. I had to do it alone. Remember?
You weren't alone. You were with your mom.
Okay. We're also gearing up for little Desmond is about to turn 4 very soon. How crazy is that?
Time flies.
Unbelievable.
Sheesh.
All right. Anything else cool that we have going on right now? Hopefully, see, we record these like over a month in advance now because we're like super professional like that. But hopefully by this point of this coming out, our garden should be rocking and rolling. I am like itching to go get like the seedlings started up as of the time of recording this podcast.
Do I have to help?
You will absolutely be helping me put more dirt in these beds because last year, you punk, you were on prep and I had to do I kid you not, guys, all of the gardening work. I built the beds. I filled the beds.
I built the beds.
You did not build the beds.
I did too.
You did not.
I drilled some screws in.
Oh, wow. What a hero. Jesus wept. And then Giacomo was in no condition to be doing any yard work last year. So it was kind of all on me.
I probably could have did a little yard work. I think I was a little prissy about it.
You think maybe you could
have
have
just a touch.
It's all right. It's all right.
What are you going to plant?
So many things. I'm so excited. I have to find our seeds. I was trying to look in the garage yesterday to find our seeds. And if you throw those seeds away, I am going to come for your jugular. I swear to God.
They weren't put away neatly, so they had to get thrown out, as opposed to that compost bin back there, which is not... I don't know. We tried to start a compost bin last year.
No, we didn't try. We did.
But we didn't continue to turn it and put enough fill. Like, we were learning as we go, like most things, right? You learn as you go, and you think it's going to be dirt.
So the last time I looked at it was just before it froze over last fall, and I pretty much ran away from it screaming like a girl because it was, which is very unlike me if you guys know me. I don't like freak out very easily, but this thing was full of bugs, which bugs in your compost are good. I don't think these particular bugs were good. I've never seen bugs that looked like it. They were big, like 2.5 inches, and they were like part worm, part beetle.
You could have told me that before I moved it.
No, this was after it got moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, holy moly, I saw it, and it wasn't just like 1 or 2. Ugh, I'm getting like the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. It was like a lot of them, and then I tried to look it up to see like, what are these, and like, is this normal? And I still don't know, and I just like left the bin alone all winter, and I'm hoping that has sorted itself out.
We shall find out what is in the mystery bin in a couple of months, and we'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah, I would have just preferred to have a big pile that you turn with a fork. We got one of those tumblers that you just like spin, because I was like, oh, this will be easy and nobody will complain about it. But it has not been all that I hoped for.
I figured it's compost. All you gotta do is make a pile of it and it turns to dirt. It's not rocket science, and yet somehow we screwed it up.
No, it's more complicated than that. And I thought I understood about it. Like it needs to be, enough wet stuff and enough dry stuff and enough green stuff and enough brown stuff. And you got to turn it and keep it moist, but not too wet. And art definitely got too wet. It definitely had too much green stuff in it. And then it started to smell bad, really bad. You know how everyone's like, compost doesn't smell. Well, yeah, only if you do it perfectly. And we didn't. And then it smelled horrible to the point that I felt bad for our neighbors. And we had to move it like 100 yards up the hill, which Giacomo had to carry. And it was like dripping on him. Anyway, very excited to be gardening. Super pumped.
We're one with the earth.
Yeah. All right. So, what are we talking about today?
Scandalous, scary things. Nope, wrong podcast. This is about health and fitness, which doesn't have to be boring. The Superfood Scandal, which is actually a little interesting.
Face the mic, babe.
What do you know about superfoods, Danny? Because I did a little bit of homework here. I came armed with ammo. I'm a little prepared.
So, the title is a little bit clickbait. It just sounded cool. Superfood Scandal. It's not really a scandal, but it is a little bit of a marketing scam. We are talking about superfoods in general, and how did that term start? Where has it gone? Why does it exist? What does it mean? And is there any truth to it?
Right around World War I, the United Fruit Company decided to market bananas as a superfood because nature perfectly wrapped this thing in a germ-proof shell. It has high nutritional value. It's easy to eat, simple, fast, and this and that. And they decided to coin the term, if you will, and make it so that bananas were it. Like put bananas, cook them with meat at the end of the night. Like put them in baby food. Like just that was it. And it became a thing.
Yep, bananas were the first superfood. Shocking, since bananas are often touted as like the least healthy fruit you can eat now, which is stupid unto itself. But I cannot tell you how many people are afraid of bananas. But they were the first superfood. And it's not just that they were in this perfect shell, but also that we were importing a ton of them and they had to move them. Like we had a ton of bananas. People didn't know what the heck they were, and we had to get them into people's hands. So they came up with this term. And the Scientific Monthly Journal printed something that said about bananas, quote, "Since the edible portion is surrounded by a thick enveloping skin, it's effectively protected against the attacks of bacteria, mold, and other agencies of decomposition." They also used to say that bananas could heal diabetes and celiac disease. So, nope, that is certainly not true. I mean, maybe bananas all by themselves could help improve diabetes, but celiac disease has nothing to do with anything in bananas.
That scientific journal, they also wound up shaking hands and contracting with the American Medical Association that got published in a trusted resource. And that was the research. That's what doctors pushed out there to people, right? And eventually we discovered that gluten, not to knock on our love affair with gluten. Some people really are celiac intolerant. However,
or they are celiac, yeah.
Right. Gluten is right. They have actual celiac disease. Excuse me. I misspoke. But yeah, gluten is the cause. And bananas will not cure your celiac disease.
Yeah. But it's just also, I mean, just even that, it's just interesting how science changes so much over time. Just fascinating stuff. But there was not another superfood announced for another 73 years, which would make that, what year would that make that? 1990, let's see, 80, 91. 1991 was the next superfood. So 1918 was bananas. Not until 1991 did we hear the term superfood again, and it was used to describe blueberries.
Now, let's go ahead and define superfood, right? The claim here is that something that is a superfood has health benefits that reach far beyond its nutritional value. And you can just imagine the kinds of claims that companies can make here. It's literally a billion-dollar industry.
Mm-hmm. And it's I just think it's really, I hate the term. How do I explain it? I do not like the term superfood at all because I don't think it's definable. Like, that's the definition you found researching this. The one I found was different. The definition I found was a food high in compounds considered beneficial to health. And I hear that definition and I'm like, I can think of hundreds, maybe thousands of foods that are high in compounds considered beneficial to health. And that's the thing, is that I feel like you could make the justification of almost any whole food and some not whole foods as superfoods based on this definition. Like, remember, what was it, like 10 years ago that kale became like the superfood of the moment? Like, nobody had ever heard of kale. Nobody had had kale, and suddenly kale was everywhere. There were shirts and tote bags with kale yeah on them all of the sudden because it was such a hot superfood item. Kale's great. Love kale. Nothing wrong with kale. But is kale really more of a superfood than broccoli? I don't think so. But I don't know, the kale PR team just hit it out of the park apparently for that year, and now everybody knows what kale is and eats it all the time. Big kale wins, you know? But it's not necessarily better than any of these vegetables that have been in our periphery kind of all along.
I want to go right into where the gurus and zealots and health freaks start to buy right into the concept that there are all kinds of magical claims around superfoods, especially the packaged stuff.
Right. That's the thing about superfoods in general. So there's two perspectives that you can look at this from. From a marketing perspective, getting your thing you're trying to sell labeled as a superfood makes it sell significantly more. If you label your shit as a superfood, people are going to buy it more. So there's a marketing perspective of why you would want to call it that. But then there's also the consumer perspective of looking for superfoods. And I find that people, this is entirely my judgment, when I find people who are really big into superfoods and finding the next big superfood, they are, within minutes of talking to them about this, it is very obvious to me that they are like looking for a magic bullet. They are looking for a magic bullet of health. And 90% of the time, they're not eating these foods in a salad. They're getting these foods in a pill or a powder. Like, they're supplementing with them. So the supplement industry is rampant with superfood compounds, right?
Right. What do you do with that?
I mean, I make this podcast and talk about it.
Yeah, but then people get caught up and they start arguing and they're like, but I like to eat healthy and how dare you shame healthy food, and these companies are trying to do good and sometimes they have all kinds of things like, what is it? Chlorophyll, phytonutrients, all kinds of things that you can't quantify nutritionally. And then it's like, well, all of these compounds, if you will, are in fact healthier than your average food with high nutritional value. What do you do with that?
I don't know if that's true, though. So I'm with you right up until the end there. Yes, phytonutrients, lots of health benefits of various things. I'm not saying that a single superfood that I've ever heard of is trash. Like, blueberries are wonderful. Bananas are great. Love bananas. Avocados, kale, quinoa, flaxseed, chlorophyll, spirulina, moringa, all of these things. Goji berries, wonderful. Love them. Nothing wrong with any of them. I just disagree that any one of those things is significantly better than, say, broccoli or raspberries or almonds. Yes.
So the thought here is that we are breaking things down on a molecular level to market all of the vitamins and minerals in any given food and saying there's nothing really special about one over the other. It's just a matter of how nutrient dense they are. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's also a matter of what you're looking for. Let's take avocados. They had a huge boom a few years ago, right? As a big superfood. Everybody wanted avocados. It's the good fat. Very high in monounsaturated fats, which are good for you. But if you're looking to improve like anti-inflammatory qualities and you're looking for more omega-3s in your day-to-day, avocados fall short. They don't have much omega-3 in them. So it all comes down to the context of what you're looking for. Because in isolation, you couldn't live on any one of these foods, right? All by themselves, they are not nutritionally balanced or sound. You have to have other foods in your life to make it a balanced, well-rounded intake. You know what I mean?
But can you do without these foods? Are they giving you any aid and benefit outside of, say, an avocado or a banana, like a cereal grass, like a greens, I should say, to make it sound a little more, make it a little easier to digest?
Well, okay.
Like a greens powder, for example.
Can you do without them? Of course you can.
But do they help you in a way that vegetables can't? Like your average crop can't?
It depends on the person, and it depends on the context. If you are a person who never eats vegetables, a greens powder is great for you. If you're a person who eats tons of vegetables, a greens powder may very well be a little bit redundant and kind of a waste of your money. And also, you said, like, can you live without these things? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Can somebody live without blueberries? Of course they can. Could somebody live without all fruits in general? I probably, technically. Should they? That's a different story. No. But just because you can't get avocados, for example, they're really hard to get good avocados around here. Can I live without them? Yeah. I can just eat something else. And that's the thing. It also doesn't take into account that there's a lot of foods that need to be eaten with other foods to have their maximum benefit. A food that's really high in vitamin A needs to be eaten with a certain amount of fat in order to be able to get all of that vitamin A.
So stick to the basic principles and then expand from there when possible, right? Like, make sure that you're eating the right foods in the right ways to actually absorb what you're eating, and perhaps foods that have, say, like an higher ORAC, oxygen radical absorbent, whatever it is, capacity, like they're good, but they're not, it's not a magic pill. It's not a tonic, if you will. And it's not even necessarily going to do a better job than just eating healthy. And it could be even wasteful if you're not eating healthy and supplementing with stuff like that.
Yes, that if you are eating a McDonald's diet all day, there's no amount of antioxidant pill that you're going to be able to take that's going to rectify the long-term damage of that. But there are a lot of people out there, not necessarily in our audience. Our audience, I feel like, is pretty health conscious and intelligent and nuanced and all of that. But, I meet a lot of people out in the wild, as they say, that are eating, McDonald's multiple times a week and then trying to tell me about this special moringa powder that they ordered off of QVC that is going to help them with this or that or weight loss. And to me, it's sad. Like, it's just sad to me that kind of marketing is even allowed in the first place. And in fact, I will add that in the EU, they have banned companies from labeling anything as a superfood, which I think is kind of awesome, actually. Good for you, EU, because it's just confusing to people. And it completely lacks nuance, and it doesn't teach anybody anything, And it's not even like a multivitamin. Like, I think a lot of people should be taking a multivitamin just as a sort of insurance for, plugging up holes in an otherwise not totally balanced diet. These aren't even that. They're not even like well-rounded multivitamins. It's just like, oh, this is a green tea powder that has antioxidants in it. Here you go.
Sometimes,
that'll
Danny,
fix it.
Sometimes, though, there is a psychosomatic component here where someone can take something that is actually healthy, but is only truly healthy if they're changing the whole diet, and it can encourage them to make better steps. So, like, far be it from us to be like, you're stupid. You know what I mean? Like, the last thing we want to do is...
I don't think anybody's stupid. That's not what I'm implying.
Yeah, but there's something to be said for that, too. You know, like, make healthier choices.
I mean, yeah, there's something to be said.
Like, whatever gets you going.
There's something to be said for the placebo effect as well, you know? The placebo effect is a very, very real thing where people think they're doing something and therefore they have an outcome. Like, it doesn't make it okay for companies to slap the word superfood on their product, charge way more money for it, knowing that it's going to sell better because of it.
And it is helpful to know what these foods do actually do for you on a biological level, because you can't outsmart that stuff. Yeah, it can put you in a place where you make healthier choices with the placebo effect, but eventually you got to come to and make those right choices. And it's just crazy, to your point earlier, that like literally anything could be a superfood these days. Anything.
But
oats.
No, absolutely.
Chickpeas.
I mean, watch me sit here and make an argument for how oats are a superfood, or how chickpeas or sweet potatoes or pine nuts. Like, I could make an argument for why anything could be a superfood. All food has nutritional value. Almost, I hesitate to say all, but almost all foods have some nutritional value. And again, like we mentioned on the last episode about, you know, eating highly processed foods, the dose makes the poison. You could eat so much of any one of these things that it hurts you. So it's not like more is necessarily better. It always is going to come back down to balance. Eating foods from all the different groups, eating lots of different colors, trying to eat a variety of different foods on a regular basis, which, to be fair, like, I'm not great at. I could eat the same thing every day forever and not get tired of it. So I have to make a conscious effort to incorporate different colors and stuff into my diet, which I'm actually recording a YouTube video, which may or may not be out already, about how to sort of supercharge, I guess, one meal per day, like nutritionally supercharge one meal per day, which is basically about kind of knowing yourself and where you tend to fall short and creating a meal that fills in those gaps that you can have every day. So keep your eye out for that, or go look on the YouTube channel for it right now, because it might already be there.
Hey listeners, we have something really exciting to share with you. For the first time ever, Vegan Proteins will be running a 16-week muscle building challenge. It starts on May 1st, and there will be so much to learn. Expect to get the absolute best out of us and get some really solid results. If you've ever wanted to work with us, now is the time. Don't hesitate, because we only run group challenges a couple of times a year, and this one is special. You'll have a chance at being crowned the first winner ever of our muscle building challenge, which means you'll also get a shot at winning 3 months of one-on-one coaching. If you utilize this properly, it can be absolutely game-changing and change your life. Gain lean muscle once and for all. Learn how to balance your nutrition with your goals. Learn how to maintain results long-term. Regain your energy and your confidence. You'll get 16 weeks of strength workouts, custom calculated macros up to 5 times, personalized check-ins 4 times, 16 live group coaching calls, nearly 90 educational lessons, our high-protein vegan recipes and tools, and access to the coolest community ever. All of this for a special first-time challenge price of $5.97. You don't want to miss out on this special one-time offer. The link is in the show notes to sign up and join us. We'll get you welcomed into our private community right away, so you'll have plenty of time to prepare for the challenge. Looking forward to getting you the best results possible and supporting your muscle building journey.
Well, what else we got about superfoods, Danny? I'm still of the mindset that it makes sense to add them in when possible, when you're already doing everything else right, in moderation. I don't think that having a little boost of nutritious food is going to hurt you, and I think it could help you.
I'm not making any argument against adding in nutritious foods. I'm literally making an argument against the label of superfood. If I told somebody today that bananas are a superfood, a lot of people would be like, what? No. Like, point blank. No, they're not. Because we don't view bananas the same way as we did 100 years ago anymore. But that was the first superfood. So to call something a superfood in and of itself, I just think is stupid. Like, I think that is... Stupid's too harsh of a word. I just don't think it actually makes any sense. But adding in lots of nutritious foods, understanding that berries in general and green tea and things like that are really high in antioxidants, and that antioxidants are good for you, and that you should be trying to get some of those into your day-to-day eating lifestyle, I think that's very, very smart. I think that is absolutely something people should be doing. But you're paying like a health tax by going out and purchasing something that specifically says superfood on it, when you could just peruse the produce aisle of your regular ass grocery store and find lots and lots of stuff super high in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, without ever having to pay for the word superfood.
The markup is insane for dried greens and dried fruits because they can. It does not cost that much to process crops in that way.
To just dry them and pulverize them. That's all they're doing.
It's crazy. It's absolutely astronomically insane just how much more you pay up for food that is packaged in that way that is not any better for you than anything else. It's a convenience factor. I'll get you, you know?
But I will argue that eating the actual food itself is probably going to be better for you because you're losing all of the fiber when you juice and dehydrate and grind something down into a powder. You're missing out on all of the fiber, which, in my opinion, might be one of the only superfoods to ever exist. And fiber is not a food, it's a type of carbohydrate, but I think that is a huge key to just health and longevity in the long term, is getting enough fiber. So you're literally taking something that is incredibly healthy for you, removing it from the food, marking it up like 500% and selling it to someone in a capsule. Jagan was trying not to laugh at me, but I don't understand what I said that's funny.
Because we have gone way off the deep end here. We are off the reservation officially. And I'm not even sure where else to take this conversation, but I am getting an absolute kick out of this salty episode, if you will. It's been a while since we got a little salty with things. And I feel a little guilty because the last thing I want to do is discourage people who are genuinely trying to make better choices. They can afford it time-wise, monetarily, and they want to eat, I don't want to use the word clean, but they can eat food that is produced in a more environmentally friendly way, food that is, the crops aren't as tainted with chemicals and this and that, etc., etc., etc.
You know, I think it's a good idea to, there's a million websites out there that you can just click through, usually in alphabetical order, all of the fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, tubers, etc., and kind of just quickly learn what value does this food have? You know, what is barley high in? What are parsnips high in? Like, you can click your way through them and just, you know, look at a couple of them once in a while just to see what are the compounds in this food that are good for me. Think about what you're actually taking in. Think about, like, what am I missing in my day-to-day diet? Because most people are missing something pretty regularly because we are creatures of habit.
Get an annual
blood panel.
Yeah, and if you have access to it, I mean, there's all sorts of tests out there that you can do that you will not get at your regular physician's office, and you can get these results pretty easily, actually. You can test all kinds of levels these days, and it's not even too pricey. You just got to know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
So get all your levels tested, find out where your stuff's at, nerd out on it. Why not? And even start to think about and understand stuff on a detailed level like that. But call me crazy, Danny. I'm
crazy.
much more so of the mindset where in some ways it's just not worth sweating, where it's like just rotate what you eat and make sure that what you eat is nutritious. It's always the answer.
Yeah, that sounds good, but it's really hard for a lot of people to do. So I think people should watch my video about how to supercharge one meal per day, because it's literally for people like me who will eat the same thing all the time, forever, and should sit there and think about what am I not getting enough of? Am I not getting enough plain leafy greens? Am I not getting enough cruciferous vegetables? Am I not getting enough fermented foods? Am I not getting enough purple colored produce? Think about what you're not getting a lot of and see if you can build a meal out of that thing.
Had you heard about the Soylent stuff before someone brought it up in a conversation? Because I had not.
Yes, I had.
What do you think? Is it a joke?
It's not a joke. I think, Soylent, it's a meal replacement powder, basically, or a meal replacement ready-to-drink shake. I'm not sure, because I had probably both at this point. I think meal replacement shakes also have their place for certain people. Like, context is everything. I think food is going to be superior to supplements for the vast majority of people, but maybe that doesn't work with someone's lifestyle at this chapter of their life right now.
Forget lifestyle. Let's just think of things strictly in terms of nutrition. And this person is so much of a driven and focused individual that they want to buy as much time back as possible. And they just want a perfect diet that's super clean. And it's some scientist said this was absolutely perfect, and all you got to do is worry about whatever else you're worried about. You got that mindset.
Well, without having actually looked into it and seen everything that's in it, because I have not looked and seen. I mean, I looked at it online probably like 2 years ago for 5 minutes and then forgot about it. But anything that says, oh, this is all you need to eat, it's perfectly formulated like a dog kibble, but for humans, like, I'm skeptical. I guess I'm skeptical, but I also don't know enough about it to form an opinion really one way or the other.
I'm agreeing with you there, 100%.
And I know you said context doesn't matter, but I think it does. So.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I can't help but think that there is no one perfect way to eat, even if someone has cracked the code and has found like the perfect formula for something you could have every day for the rest of your life, and lifestyle didn't matter. Well, that is that person's lifestyle.
There is no one perfect way to eat, because what could be perfect for one person could upset the stomach of the next person, could interfere with the sleep of the next person, could just be psychologically unsatisfying for the next person. Like, everybody is different, and that's why individuality in like plans matters so much.
Or something can be psychologically satisfying and physically
not working for them.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot. Everybody is different, and that's why cookie cutter coaching and cookie cutter diets are so crap. That is an entirely separate rant for another day.
You sure?
I'm sure.
All right, end rant.
All right, Giacomo, here is a question for you. Is it worth it to lift on days that you didn't get enough protein? There are a lot of days where I don't get the recommended amount of protein for building muscle. I'm not that focused on getting big or ripped. I'm more interested in physical and especially mental health. On days that I don't get enough protein, is it worth it for me to go lift?
Why wouldn't it be? You're eating enough. You're going to get some protein in. Yeah, whatever. Like, I am of the mindset that it's not worth obsessing over making sure that you're getting the perfect protein hit 3 to 5 times a day for the rest of your life. I don't think that's sustainable for damn near anyone, not even a professional elite athlete. I think it's always the goal to gravitate and move toward that direction. I also think that context matters, right? For you particularly, it sounds like you're eating enough to support muscle growth. And that to me is just as important. Because if you were trying to diet down for whatever reason, I might be singing a different tune here and saying, well, friend, it's probably kind of important to, yes, focus on getting in the right amount of protein. But your actual question is, should you still train? Like, yes, absolutely. Because the consequence of you not training, even if you're not maximizing your windows for muscle protein synthesis throughout the day, the consequences of not training are that your body becomes maladapted to the training stimuli, meaning that it's going to be harder to get your gains going in the future. Like, even if you're flatlining or even moving a touch backwards, you don't want your body to forget that it wants to move regularly. Like, get your training session in. Overall, though, long term, like, you do want to continue to focus on protein, and obviously just, of course, make sure that you're eating enough. That's my answer. I made a mistake last night, and while there's nothing I can do about it now, I'd like to know how long it takes for calories to turn into fat. I did DoorDash because the weather was really bad. They messed up the order, and I ended up with 3 Impossible Whoppers I didn't order. I hadn't had one in so long and ended up eating all 3. I have regrets. So the last time I bothered checking my weight was around the holidays. It was 220, but today, after my little binge, it's 206. How long do you think it'll take before I know how bad I chucked myself?
So this is a good question. This is a hard situation to be in. I think that I understand the question. How long does it take for calories to turn into fat? I don't think that's I don't think that part is a good question. I think that part is really indicative that we need to work on the mindset here, because if you are looking for a direct what I ate to what happens on the scale relationship, like day to day, you are going to be really, really frustrated at times, and you're going to be really, really confused at some times. Oftentimes when we overeat, it doesn't show up on the scale like the next day. And it's not because, it just hasn't turned into fat yet. The rate at which calories are stored in the body is going to be a little bit different for every person depending on their digestion. But sometimes what we see on the scale is not a direct reflection of what happened in the last few days. Sometimes it's a reflection of what happened, 2 weeks ago. Sometimes you can follow your plan perfectly to a T and step on the scale and it's actually up, even though you technically ate in a caloric deficit the whole time, because there's other factors at play here. There's the amount of food traveling through your system, which, Whoppers, 3 Whoppers sounds like a lot, but they're really small. They're really dense. That's not a lot of food. If you had the same number of calories in broccoli, the scale might actually be higher because there's more physical food going through your system. So I think that based on the way this question is worded, this person is really stressed out about the incident of overeating that they had. And the stressing out about it might actually be worse for them than anything else. I think it is very important to, when something like this happens, there's 2 things that I think are important to do when somebody binges or overeats. And I can't say which one it is. To me, they're very different things. But 1, it is behind you. You need to let it go and move on and just pick right up where you left off and keep going. Don't try to cut more calories. Don't try to outwork it with exercise afterwards. Just get right back on your plan and keep moving forward, like, as soon as you can. That is the first thing you need to do. The second thing that I would recommend somebody does is kind of do an autopsy of the situation and look at it and say, well, this happened. Why did this happen? What can I do differently next time? That is, in my opinion, the only way that something good is going to come out of these situations. Berating yourself and beating yourself up and just waiting for that shoe to drop and show up on the scale as a 15-pound gain, which of course it's not going to at all. I'll get into the numbers of that in a second. Is only going to harm you. But saying, okay, so what have I learned from this? Maybe the convenience of DoorDash is not the best thing for me. Maybe I need to make sure that I always have some ready-to-go meals in the freezer in case there's an incident like this again. I don't want to be caught without a meal at home and end up with 3 Whoppers at my door. That is a totally valid thing to learn from this incident. And that's how you can turn this sort of negative into a positive. As far as the actual quote-unquote damage that could possibly be done, okay? I don't know the exact calories of an Impossible Whopper. I want to say it's like 700 or something per Whopper. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
I think so. So let's say you had all 3. That's 2,100 calories. Now let's say that you ate exactly at your maintenance that day and then you had 3 Whoppers. You ate 2,100 calories over your maintenance, in excess of your maintenance. 1 pound of stored body fat is approximately 3,500 calories. So that means that the absolute worst case scenario, if you stored every single calorie of those Whoppers as body fat, it would be like 0.7, maybe even less, like 0.6 pounds. That's how much that would cause you to gain in actual body fat. So the damage is almost always not what we expect it to be at all. Sometimes it can even give us a little like metabolism boost if we've been in a deficit for a long, long time. Sometimes people are surprised that an incident of overeating can actually kind of temporarily speed some things up again. I don't recommend going this route of doing it by accident or feeling like you're out of control when it happens, but 90% of the time, the stress that you're inflicting on yourself mentally is going to be way worse than the quote-unquote damage that you did by overeating.
All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Please stay in touch with us on socials at I Am Josephina, at Muscles by Brussels, at Vegan Proteins, on all of the socials. Go to veganproteins.com, hit the contact button, send us a message. We will answer you. You will get a response from one of us, and you'll get a response fast because we want to hear from you. Once again, my name is Giacomo.
And I'm Danny.
And we'll talk to you soon.